OK，好的，那我们现在正式开始啊。OK，好的，大家好啊，欢迎来到原理区直播间啊，我是本次的活动主持人伯里。那欢迎大家继续跟随我们继续探索 Web 3.0。那我们的 Web 3.0先行者系列活动呢，继续也在面向不同的公链啊，还有项目，邀请行业资深大咖进行分享交流。其实这里面的话呢，我们之前已经有过几期介绍过 Definitive、Parachain 不同的公链，也有不同的一些明星的生态项目，包括 Mona 等等一些。那我们还是一起让我们共同携手一起共建共享 Web 3.0的这样一个生态的繁荣。Hey everybody, yeah, this is Tim. As you know, First Web3 community is a non-profit community, and now we are having a series of Web3 projects featured on our community. So there are not only public chains like Divinity, like Filecoin, and we do also have ecological developers and builders relying on different kind of chains. So we do welcome everyone to speak out through our platform and promote the development of Web3 together. 那今天本期的这样一个 Web 3.0的先行者系列呢，来到了2022年的第一期的开年活动。首先给大家说一声新年好，新年快乐。OK， 那我们本次的话呢，也是特别邀请到 Moonbeam 的这样一个市场总监 Francisco 这边做客我们原理区这样一个直播间。我们共同探讨 Moonbeam 的一些生态发展历程，以及他们如何会推动整个 Web 3的这样一个发展历程。那其实大家都知道，那个Moonbeam 的话呢，它是由 PureStake 团队在2020年这样一个9月份创建了。那他们是为一个去中心化的运营程序提供以太坊兼容环境的这样一个智能合约平台。那旨在通过将以太坊的 DApp 迁移到其他高性能的平台，会存在于2个或者多个链上这些数字资产以及和不同的用户来提供服务这个是非常必要的，对吧？大家都知道，我们依托以太坊有非常多的这些apps 或者是其他东西，但是这些东西的话，需要能够和不同链进行交互，对吧？这一块是非常重要的。那他们作为构建在波卡上的这样一个平行链呢，波卡为了确保这样一个 Moonbeam 的这样一个可扩展性和安全性，对吧？那 Moonbeam 这边的话呢，也可以和其他链进行融合，然后跨链进行交易的功能。那其实，在过去的2021年里面，对吧？我们看到整个 Moonbeam 应该是整个 Kusama 这样一个生态里面最为活跃的这样一个平链之一，并且在波卡的这样一个首次插槽拍卖当中获得第2名的好成绩，对吧？目前有超过80个以上的这些活跃的去中心化应用，并且他们与超过应该有110多个项目合作达成合作了已经，然后整个生态也是非常蓬勃的在发展。那介绍一下他们的这样一个主公司PureStake 团队的话，主要专注于为区块链网络提供最优质的这样一个基础设施和服务他们 CEO derived 在那 Moonbeam 的一个开发者的这样一个课程毕业典礼里面曾经分享过说，未来的区块链世界将会发生一个巨大的转变，对吧？从而在一个区块链上面建立应用，将会转变为多个区块链间共同构建的这样一个应用场景。其实这个转变的话呢，将会赋予拥抱多链的项目 ，OK， 请注意是多链的项目一个更为广阔的未来。所以我们期待Moonbeam 这块可以支持更多的一些跨链交互，并且将其他平行链的集成到这样一个 Moonbeam 当中来促进生态和持续的发展。Okay, hey guys, yeah, in the 211th event of Force Open Day, yeah, actually this is the very first event of the 2022. Yeah, so glad to be here and so glad to have Francisco. Yeah, he's a director of markets and partnership at Moonbeam. So he's invited here as a guest speaker here to share about Moonbeam's eco updates and the role of Moonbeam will play in the upcoming Web3 world. So actually, as you guys know, built in September 2020 by PureStake, Moonbeam is a smart contract platform, that it provides Ethereum-compatible environment for building decentralized applications. Actually, as you guys know, Moonbeam was designed to serve these new kinds of assets and users that exist across 2 or more chains. That is really important. The most, active parachain on the Polkadot network. 2021 is a really exciting year, exciting year for Polkadot and Moonbeam communities. After becoming the second winner of the Parachain auction on Polkadot, Moonbeam has started its launch process and plan to bring more than 80 integrations to boost the Polkadot activities. And the CEO and the founder of PureStake, Derek, actually said in the blockchain space was moving toward a multi-chain specialization and interoperability. So in the next stage, we can see Moonbeam will become will become really well, actively supporting the cross-chain interoperability scenarios and adding integrations to other parachains into Moonbeam. So just looking forward to that. OK， 那我们其实刚才这段介绍的话，最主要是让大家对整个 Moonbeam 包括他们的整个公司这边都更多的一个了解，以及他们在做这样一个事情。那其实整个的在做的事情的话，包括 Moonbeam 这块也是非常宏大，对吧？跨链这一块也是一个必须要走的一个路径。那 OK， 那我们接下来就有请我们的这样一个 Moonbeam 的全球的市场负责人 Francisco 这边为我们带来分享他们的一个2021年的这个 Year Review 关于 Moonbeam 这一块。Okay, so let's welcome Francisco to share with us about the wonderful topic about the Moonbeam's 2021 Year Review. Okay, Francisco, now you can do the presentation now. I will stop sharing my screen. You can share a screen now and say hello with our guests online.
All right, perfect. Yeah, thank you for introducing me. And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So as Tim mentioned, I'm Francisco. I work for PureStake, the development company behind the Moonbeam network, and I help out with markets related work and also ecosystem development in general. So yeah, we prepared a presentation for today. Let me just share my screen here.
Okay, great. Yeah, 刚刚这边这边Francisco 这边有聊到哈，他其实他们主公司就是 PureStake 嘛，然后他呢在这里面就要负责市场以及生态的一个拓展的部分。OK， 那接下来的话就他给我们大家带来分享。Okay, so, Francisco, now you can do the presentation now.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, looks awesome. Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, yeah, let's get started. So yeah, so as Tim mentioned, I think 2021 was an important year for our team. And maybe just to give a little bit of context on what Moonriver and Moonbeam are. So Tim already kind of touched base on this. Basically, I think what the team found early on was that we thought that like interoperability between blockchains was going to be important and relevant kind of moving forward in the Web3 space. So with this mindset of interoperability kind of in mind, we just saw that Polkadot and Kusama were kind of architectures and designs that had interoperability at the heart of it, right? So we just thought it was fitting to build on top of these layer zeros where interoperability was going to be kind of the focal point moving forward. And then we also saw that apart from interoperability, while Polkadot and Kusama are very powerful and they provide a lot of benefits, use a different tech stack than Ethereum, right? So it uses Substrate, which is a framework for building blockchains on Polkadot and Kusama. More specifically, they're called Parachains, which are kind of these member blockchains of the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystems. Then the idea is that these parachains kind of speak to each other. And then all of these different use cases can be born from this interoperability. And what we saw is that Substrate is just a different tech stack, right? So it's for many teams that they didn't have familiarity with Rust, the programming language used to build Substrate. The onboarding and on-ramping process wasn't going to be so easy for many projects. So we thought that there was going to be a good opportunity to be able to leverage the Ethereum tech stack on Polkadot so that developers could use the tools and frameworks they were familiar with on Ethereum. So for example, MetaMask, using Solidity smart contracts, Remix, Hardhat, all of these different tools that had already been developed for a long time and that have the majority of the adoption. So creating that environment, like an implementation of Ethereum on Polkadot and Kusama, which would then allow developers to kind of have an easy on-ramp to this ecosystem while still being able to benefit from from what Polkadot and Kusama can provide in terms of interoperability and all these other kind of use cases related to staking and governance, and things that are just specific to that architecture. So yeah, I think 2021 was an important year because I mean, we'll get into it in this presentation basically, and it was kind of a proof of concept for what we're building. So yeah, we can probably get started. Yeah, so Moonriver, that was, I think 2021 was probably the year of Moonriver. And for those of you wondering what the difference is between Moonriver and Moonbeam, Moonriver is basically an Ethereum-compatible parachain on Kusama. And Moonbeam is the same, just that it's on Polkadot instead of Kusama. And the idea with Kusama was that Parity wanted to kind of create this permanently incentivized experimental network for kind of developers to ship their code first there and ship new features onto Kusama before deploying them on Polkadot. That was kind of the original idea, and there's a common kind of misconception that Kusama is a test net, and that's not really accurate. I think the idea was that they wanted to create this experimental network, but having under real economic conditions, because yeah, I think the community and users react differently once there's real value on the line. And a good example, for example, is governance, right? Unless there's real value on the line, people won't show up to vote on referenda and governance related topics. So that was kind of the idea with Kusama. And then it took a life of its own, right? It's the community that it's grown is very unique to Kusama. It's been growing quite a lot. And then you have all of these different parachains that have launched on Kusama that are creating their own communities, and it's kind of taken a life of its own, and they're evolving in a unique way when compared to Polkadot. So Moonriver is our implementation on Kusama. And in 2021, we launched it. I think it was approximately end of August. And yeah, I mean, I think the team couldn't be more pleased with the results, right? I think it was, as I mentioned before, it's been a proof of concept for what we're building. And the success of Moonriver is kind of a testament of what's to come for Polkadot, and also what's to come in the future for Kusama as well. And I think it was important because a lot of people had their eyes on Kusama in anticipation of the Polkadot launch. So our team believes that we'll be able to replicate the same type of activity we've seen on Moonriver, but on Moonbeam shortly. So here is just kind of a set of metrics or KPIs that our team put together to kind of summarize some of the success that Moonriver has had. So yes, 70 plus integrations, over 13 million transactions and growing, 400,000 wallet addresses. The staking amount is also important. So there's been over 1 million mover locked in staking for the collators that produce blocks on Moonriver, which is important. And then over 3,000 ERC20 tokens have been created and growing as well. So these numbers are just kind of indicative of the traction that Moonriver has gotten so far, which is great to see in such a short amount of time, since it's only been live for approximately 4 months or so. So yeah, it's been amazing to see the growth. Yeah, and here is just kind of a summary of the technical updates and the developer community and how that has grown. I think related to the technical updates in particular, Moonriver for the team has been incredibly important because it's been a big learning experience moving into the Moonbeam launch. So yeah, these numbers, I mean, 12 runtime upgrades, the collator set has grown from 8 to 58, and I think it's growing today to even further. 16 Moonbase Alpha runtime upgrades. All these things, they've been incredibly valuable to learn what it means to launch a parachain, right? And I think the team is very well prepared for the launch of Moonbeam because we've gone through these things with Moonriver. So yeah, I think that has been the best teacher for us in anticipation of the Moonbeam launch. And then just in general, the developer community has grown quite a lot. And the fact that we're a developer-centric platform, I think our job is to make the best experience possible for developers to build on Moonriver and Moonbeam. So a lot of work, we've done a lot of work to kind of make that experience as best as possible through our developer relations team. So the doc site has grown significantly. The number of developer tools has grown a lot. And we're also kind of focusing more on a geographic specific and our ambassadors have been have kind of fulfilled a key role in helping us expand awareness and just provide supporting documentation for developers in specific countries. So that has also helped us quite a lot in terms of growth and reaching a wider audience of developers throughout the globe. So then this kind of all the summary of Moonriver kind of leads us into Moonbeam, which, as I mentioned before, it's the same concept as Moonriver, but it's a parachain on Polkadot as opposed to Kusama. But the code base is the same. It'll just essentially, there are two separate networks that will evolve differently from each other. Moonbeam, as Tim mentioned, we recently won a parachain slot. I think a couple of weeks ago. The team is very excited about launching Moonbeam, and in order to kind of win the parachain slot, the Moonbeam had basically a Crowdloan, which allows the community to vote for the projects that they want to see go live on Polkadot. And here are just some numbers that summarize the support that the Moonbeam Crowdloan received. So over 35 million DOT was contributed, which is a very high number. We were very surprised by support, which was amazing to see. 200,000 contributors worldwide, in total, 150 million Glimmer was allocated for the rewards pool that the supporters will receive for their locked DOT. And this is also kind of indicative of the traction that we expect to see on Moonbeam, right? Because for Moonriver, I think the numbers were significantly lower. I think as opposed to the 200,000 contributors we saw on Moonbeam, for Moonriver, there were approximately 6,000, something like this. So this is why we're kind of excited about the Moonbeam launch and all the support that it's been able to gather, since we expect to just replicate the traction that Moonriver has gotten, but on Polkadot with Moonbeam. Here this kind of summarizes the launch process of Moonbeam, and the launch process is very similar to what Moonriver went through. If many of you remember the launch process of Moonriver, the main difference is that given the fact that we already went through this process with Moonriver, the time frame will be significantly reduced. So I think for Moonriver, the rollout process was around 2 months, if I'm not mistaken, whereas this launch process for Moonbeam, I think in total will be around 3 weeks, something like this. And again, much of that reduced time frame is just because we were already kind of taught this process with Moonriver. So the engineering team is just much more familiar with what to expect. Phase 0, we basically already passed that. It's a centralized phase where kind of PureStake and the Moonbeam Foundation are running most of the collators. And much of this process is just to be able to ensure the stability and the safety of the network before making it available to the public. And then, the last phase 2, which is the one we're waiting for now, will remove the pseudo key, which is kind of this master key that gives the foundation control of the network. So that will ultimately kind of hand over the control of the network to the token holders, making it kind of a decentralized network and permissionless. And then activating the EVM is also very important, so that teams will be able to deploy and build on Moonbeam using Solidity smart contracts, along with balance transfers being enabled. So being able to transfer Glimmer tokens, that will kind of that will be the last phase, which is approaching shortly. This slide kind of summarizes some of the integrations and our ecosystem in general, and some of the teams that we've been working with. And I think the ecosystem is an important part of the Moonbeam story, and it's also a unique differentiator. Since I think all the work that we've done around the tools, the integrations, all these frameworks, we've invested a lot of time and resources to build this ecosystem, right? So while it might be easy to kind of incorporate EVM functionality into your Parachain or into any other kind of layer one blockchain, I think the ecosystem is much more difficult to replicate, because it's a body of work that we've been investing in for a long time. And our team has worked hard to kind of fill gaps that are missing. And a lot of it has just been driven by conversations that we've had with teams, right? When we were starting out, we wanted to build a rich ecosystem, and we wanted to work with high quality partners. So we would just have these conversations with teams, asking them what they needed to successfully deploy and grow their project on Moonbeam. And based off of that feedback, we went out and we worked on getting those on those pieces necessary. So for example, the necessary oracles, wallets, block explorers, indexers, bridges. So all of these kind of building blocks are crucial in order to kind of guarantee the best experience possible for developers to build on Moonbeam. So I think this is an important part of the Moonbeam story, and we'll continue to work on growing this ecosystem moving forward. I think this slide is also important, since it highlights kind of the growth of the community. And these figures are kind of indicative, right, of how the project has grown. I remember I joined the team towards the end of 2020, and the Twitter account, for example, was just around 6,000 followers, and the fact that it's grown to close to 170,000 followers is just it's crazy. The amount of support that the project has received. Same with Moonriver, right? Moonriver didn't even have a Twitter account in 2020, and by now it's approaching 100,000 followers. So that all these things, it's been amazing to see the support that the project is getting from the community, as well as kind of the ambassador program. I remember founding or starting the ambassador program with my colleague Catherine in I think it was around December 2020, and I remember the first calls that it was just a couple of ambassadors who were involved with Polkadot, and they kind of knew the project and they saw it had potential. And now the ambassador program is around 2,000 ambassadors, which is amazing to see. And I think the community, the project would be nowhere near where it is today without the support of the community. And that's something that has shocked me quite a lot in the Web3 space, is how tightly knit the community is. And it's always a very friendly community. Everyone is always willing to help. And the ambassadors have done a phenomenal job in helping spread awareness and overall just supporting the network, which has been great. And by the way, the ambassador program continues to be open and to receive applications. So if you want to get involved with the network and supporting the network, there's still opportunities to do that. Here just kind of a summary of the different events that have taken place over the last year. I know Derek is very involved with a lot of podcasts and joining panels to kind of help spread awareness of not only Moonbeam, but Web3 in general. Here's ETHCC in Paris. That was another big event. And in Lisbon as well, there was another Web3 event. So we'll continue to kind of attend these events moving forward. And I know there's also a thriving Moonriver community in Tulum, Mexico, and they threw kind of a Moonriver party and they'll continue to. I think there's another party upcoming in Tulum, a Moonriver party, so it's like volume 2. So these are just some of the examples of the community that's been supporting the network, which is awesome to see. And yeah, just looking forward into the future of what we're targeting and what is important to the project. I think an important component of moving forward will be XCM. So XCM is kind of this cross-chain messaging format for specific to Polkadot and Kusama. This is kind of the messaging format that will allow for interoperability between parachains, right? So I think this is a unique differentiator with Moonbeam when compared to other layer 1 blockchains, is this idea that because we're a part of the Polkadot ecosystem and the Kusama ecosystem, we'll be able to speak and communicate and interact with other member parachains of that ecosystem, right? And that's something that we've been looking forward to for a long time, and that's one of the main reasons that we decided to build on Polkadot and Kusama. So we're very much excited to kind of see the development of XCM and what that will bring, what type of use cases. I think the most immediate use cases will be kind of asset transfers. So asset transfers between different parachains. And then in the future, we'll probably see more complex use cases, right? So perhaps kind of parachains wanting to call smart contracts and execute smart contracts remotely on Moonbeam and Moonriver from their own parachain. And who knows what else will be born from this messaging format. Maybe a concrete example would be one of our partners, Lido, is working kind of on a liquid staking solution. So they're building on Moonriver and they're kind of remotely accessing KSM staking on the relay chain via XCMP, right? So this is one of the examples of projects leveraging the interoperable functionalities that Kusama and Polkadot provide. The XC20 strategy, I think that's going to be very important. So basically, XC20 will be kind of a token standard on Moonriver and Moonbeam. And the idea behind XC20s is that, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of ERC20s being kind of minted on Moonriver and Moonbeam. But what XC20s will provide is kind of, it'll be a pre-compile contract where that specific asset will be represented as an ERC20, but it'll also have kind of substrate native functionality. So for example, KSM and DOT are assets that many people want to see on Moonriver and Moonbeam, and that'll be made possible by them being represented as an XC20. And ultimately, these assets will be tradable on DeFi protocols on Moonriver and Moonbeam, but they'll also be transferable between parachains, right? So I think this will be important because there's many parachain teams on Polkadot and Kusama that don't necessarily specialize in DeFi, for example, but they'll want to have their assets traded, right? And they want to form part of this DeFi ecosystem because many parachain teams have native utility tokens. So we're working right now with different parachain teams testing these XCMP features, and ultimately we'll want to represent many of these assets as XC20s so that they're transferable between parachains, but they'll also be able to be represented as ERC20s within Moonriver and Moonbeam's EVM. And our team is also working on a dashboard that will allow for users to kind of transfer these assets in kind of a user-friendly way. So this is something that we're very excited by as well. And then, yeah, obviously investment in ecosystem and community development, that will continue to be a focus moving forward, as it always has been. So I think this is kind of a never-ending process where we continuously try to improve the ecosystem and foster developer growth and community development in general. And then along with that, just bounty program. So we recently launched, or the foundation recently launched an Immunify bounty program to help bolster the security of the network. And as always, kind of educational activities related to the network as well. So yeah, these are just kind of some of the points that we see as important moving forward. And I think the highlight for 2022 will be this kind of interoperability development between other parachains and what will be born from that. So I think 2022 will be an important and exciting year for Polkadot, for Kusama, and Moonbeam and Moonriver more specifically. So yeah, here's kind of a high-level roadmap for both Moonriver and Moonbeam, and it kind of summarizes where things have gone from approximately Q2 2021 until now. So yeah, I think the most important one that we're currently facing and the focus of the team right now is finalizing the launch process for Moonbeam, as I mentioned before. So the full launch of enabling the EVM and balance transfers should be in a few weeks. So it's very close now. And after that, take flight participants can expect their token distribution to happen. Crowdloan contributors will also get a portion of the rewards once we enable the EVM. And I think the use cases moving forward for the ecosystem will continue to be DeFi, NFT, and gaming. Those are kind of the spaces where we've seen the most traction. And I would predict that they'll continue to be the areas where project development will be concentrated. So yeah, and then apart from fulfilling that launch process for Moonbeam, I think it'll be a similar process to Moonriver post that process. So after that, they'll kind of be this natural process where teams will start deploying on Moonbeam. And in order for that to happen, there have to be kind of like key infrastructure deployments. So for example, for Moonriver, many projects were waiting for a multi-signature wallet or the graph to be deployed on Moonriver for indexing services. I know a Chainlink recently deployed on Moonriver, for example, and that unlocked several lending and borrowing protocols. So there's going to be kind of certain steps that need to be taken in order to guarantee as many deployments as possible. And you'll be able to expect that in Q1 of 2022, basically. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the presentation. I guess now there's a space for more community Q&A. So yeah, cool. I guess I'll be answering some questions now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Francisco. Yeah, that's very great. Yeah, to see the very rapid development of Moonbeam and previously known as Moonriver. Yeah, that's very awesome. Yeah, and we do look forward to the development of 2022, like mentioned in the Q1 and Q2, to integrate with the more NFT or like GameFi or DeFi, something like that, and with development of the XC20, that is very awesome. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, actually, I'm wondering about you mentioned about the ambassadors program. Yeah, I think a lot of people are getting involved already. So I think later we can have maybe we have some kind of offline meetups. Yeah, we can do that together, maybe with Vicky here in China. Yeah, that would be very awesome. Okay, before we get started with the Q&A, I'd like just to see something that you have mentioned, the key points to our Chinese guests. Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure. Go for it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, 我接下来呢会给大家讲一下刚才Francisco 这边主要提到了一些东西。那我这边的话，我先分享我这边的一个屏幕。OK， 其实他这边的话讲了非常非常多的一些重点的东西，也是关于整个Moonbeam 的一些之前在Kusama 这边的话 Moonriver 对不对？大家都知道，然后到后面的话华丽转身成为 Moonbeam 这块。那其实他这边的话刚刚有提到几个非常多的数字刚刚几个前面 slide 有几个非常漂亮的几个数字，对，包括用户数量的一个疯狂的增长，对不对？可能刚开始才6000粉丝，到现在已经达到接近17万的粉丝了，对不对？这一个非常非常庞大一个数字增长，也可以看到确实Moonbeam 在整个的波卡生态当中的这样一个受欢迎程度也希望我们的很多的一些参与的开发者同学也好，或者是其他的生态参与者们都可以参与到 Moonbeam 这里面去。然后另外的话，一个数字我记得看到非常清楚，是80多个一个 生态合作伙伴，对吧？围绕他们的这些围绕 Moonbeam 在创建的应用，对，有80多个了已经，对，我可以看到它的整个生态也在飞速的这样一个实现这样一个增长，对吧？并且他们会在今年2022年，也就是今年的1月中旬实现 Moonbeam 的就完全上线，对吧？这块他也是有提到这个部分的。然后另外的话呢，也提到了很多的一些激励性的一些措施，包括社区活动层面，包括大家可以成为他们的大使，然后另外也包括可以有一些他们也会举办一些类似教育性的一些活动。然后另外的话呢，他也提到 XC20 这样一个协议，目前大家都知道可能都在使用 ERC20 这样的协议比较多一些。那 Moonbeam 的话，这块就是能够在波卡上面能够创建类似一个以太坊，对吧？波卡上面的一个以太坊，大家可以这么理解，简单来讲。那他们的话也可以有这样一个 XC20 的这样一个协议，我觉得这个协议的话，真正的可以帮他们能够更好的去打通和不同链之间的交互，然后实现跨链资产这样一种转移。对，这块是我个人非常非常期待的一个部分。那其他这一块的话呢，他有提到一些很多技术性的一些进展就很多技术性的进展，也希望大家可以继续去关注他们。对，然后呢，另外的话也是他们也会集成更多的关于 AMP 游戏，还有一些 DeFi 的一些应用在 Moonbeam 上面去。所以我们整体来看的话，Moonbeam 在这个波卡插头拍卖当中能够获得第2名的成绩也是实至名归这是肯定的。对，其实他们表现可能也是非常非常好的，对，也是一个非常低调务实的团队，对，也是希望他们接下来可以在中国社区生态的话，也可以更多的发声。当然我们也会和他们一起，然后来做这样一个发声。可能接下来看看是否有机会，我们可以一起做一些相关的一些活动，让更多人可以了解和加入当中进来。OK， 那可以那我们现在来进入我们的这样一个2个问题的这样一个环节。Yeah, Francisco. Yeah, now we can turn to the Q&A session. Yeah, actually, we do have the very first one. Yeah, as you know, Moonbeam required the easiest path to multi-chain. Yeah, so how convenient is that? And another question is, actually, developers has a lot of options for now. Like they can try to choose layer 2 chains which is compatible with Ethereum 2. So why do they have to choose like Moonbeam, the real advantage of Moonbeam? Yeah, you may talk about something like that.
I think this is a good question. And I think, they're both very related to each other. So the premise of Moonbeam and the value that it adds is kind of built. It's contingent on like the Polkadot ecosystem, right? And the Kusama ecosystem for Moonriver. And a lot of our assumptions were that interoperability between different blockchains and the ability for different blockchains to speak to each other will be essential moving forward for the future of Web3. And I think you kind of see this pattern in the market right now, right? That like many teams are kind of just deploying the same instance of their protocol several times throughout different blockchains. So for example, different layer ones like Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, Polygon, Phantom, and a lot of these layer ones have seen a lot of traction because they're Ethereum compatible. But I think the future will move more towards how projects can leverage one single deployment and then having that kind of instance of the protocol communicating with different blockchains that perhaps specialize in different things. Because for many of these protocols, they're deployed on many layer ones, but it's not so easy to kind of, for DeFi, for example, it's not so easy to leverage liquidity, and leverage different functions on different layer ones, right? And those problems are still quite complex. And I think a lot of that will be simplified with an interoperable architecture like Polkadot, where perhaps one project will be able to deploy on Moonbeam. And given all the work that we've done around different parachain integrations and different integrations in general, I think we see Moonbeam as becoming more of like an integration hub or an integration center where projects will deploy on Moonbeam and then they'll instantly have access to all of these different integrations that we've worked on. So perhaps a DeFi project will be able to, or an NFT project will deploy on Moonbeam, and then they'll be able to leverage perhaps the specialization of another parachain that specializes in decentralized storage or decentralized identity or whatever the use case might be, right? And it'll become a more efficient way to operate for protocols and to leverage different functionalities. And I think that's going to be key. When you compare other layer ones, for example, like Polygon and the other ones I mentioned before, they've gotten a lot of traction, but I think the main differentiator for Moonbeam will be the fact that it's part of Polkadot and the fact that it'll be able to benefit from all this interoperability that I was mentioning before. I don't think the market, we're still very early on, so that's why we're excited for 2022. Because I think we'll see these like use cases starting to develop in 2022. And as I think I touched upon this before, I think the more immediate ones will be asset transfers. And just for that, like I think the DeFi world in general is interested in having access to different assets. So that in and of itself will be valuable for Moonbeam. But then moving forward, I think we'll start to see more complex use cases that will probably solve many of the problems that we see today with layer ones trying to kind of maybe interact with each other. And I think the market is asking for it, right? You see a lot of demand with, for example, a lot of these bridges between layer ones. The problem is that a lot of these bridges, they're kind of built with certain trust assumptions on these layer ones. So whereas with Polkadot, this cross-chain messaging format is natively built into the design of the architecture. So it's kind of more secure, and it'll be more easy to handle and to manage. So I think that those are some things that are going to be key for Polkadot and Moonbeam moving forward.
Okay, that's very great. Yeah, that's very great. Okay, let me explain a bit more about that. Okay.
No worries.
Yeah. 刚 Francisco 这边的话，其实提到很多这一点哈。其实他刚刚有说一个非常重点的话，就是 Moonbeam 这边是集成在波卡这个生态里面去的。那波卡这边的话呢，关于整个的跨链的话，整个的这种交互性这一块的话，肯定是非常非常赞的。包括很多的一些应用开发者，对吧？应用开发者的话，其实你可以选择不同的链，比如说 Parachain 这边也好，或者是其他链也好。但是呢，你终究的话是需要有一个满足市场层面的一个需求，就是说我们需要在一条链上就可以实现在不同链上的一个桥接和转化。的 Moonbeam 的话可以帮我们来做到这一点，而不是说你需要在不同链上都需要去开发不同的一些应用或措施，然后来进行这个桥接和跨链，这样的话就会变得非常困难，对吧？包括这个近期的话也是有很多人在理解到关于整个 Web3 的一个入场门槛的话，可能它就是有一个专门的一个端口，那这个端口的话是否是 Moonbeam 可以来帮我们解决这个问题啊？我觉得其实有非常大的一个可能。那另外的话呢，其实他也提到 Moonbeam 这块的话，完全就可以当成一个类似中转中心的这样一个存在，对吧？那很多的一些类似 DeFi 啊，或者是其他一些项目的话，你的流动性的话可以在上面实现增强，因为通过 Moonbeam 的话，你可以和不同的链这个交互性变得更强，并且 Moonbeam 这块已经包括前期，对吧？大家都知道，它都已经在和不同的链实现一个非常好的交互了，包括可能一些去中心化的一些身份认证，包括一些去中心化的一些存储问题，对吧？都可以在这上面直接帮你解决好，你就不需要再通过一些中间的一些桥接也好，再去做这样一个事情了。直接 Moonbeam 这边的话就可以帮你来解决这样一个问题，这样的话就使得不管做一个开发者也好，或者是类似有很多 DeFi 相关的一些项目也好，创建者或者 NFT 项目创建者也好，你会发现在 Moonbeam 上面创建一些应用，然后并且去实施，并且和其他链实现这样一个交互和可操作性的话，会变得非常快捷，非常便捷。这也是讲说他们为什么要称之为就是最简易的方式啊，叫跨链的最简易方式，对吧？最简易路径就是通过 Moonbeam 这一块。对，我讲这个 Francisco 在这边的话，已经给大家做了一个很好的这样一个解释了。对，其实关于另外的一个点的话 ，Francisco 这边也有提到，就是说可能市场就在需求这样一种方式，就是 Moonbeam 的这种方式，对吧？它本身的话已经把这些很困难的事情帮你解决好了，你就过来在这上面创建应用就好了，或者是创建一些 DeFi 项目就可以了，而不需要再做那些非常复杂的东西。复杂的东西的话，就交给 Moonbeam 这边去做就好了，然后你就安心的去做你的这些应用开发就 OK 了。Okay, thanks, Francisco. Yeah, that's a really a great answer about that. Yeah, we do learn a bit more about that. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Yeah, people are talking about metaverse and Web3, and you do see the beef, right? The beef with Jack Dorsey and the Twitter. The then Twitter CEO, right? Yeah, previous Twitter CEO, and the some venture capitals like A16Z. Yeah, they talk about Web3. Okay, so that is really hot and popular right now, and somebody consider like maybe 2022 will be the year of Web3 or metaverse. So how do you see about that? How do you see about that, and how will Moonbeam will play a role in the upcoming Web3 world?
Yeah, so I think the metaverse is something that's been gaining popularity along with other things like NFTs and DeFi. But yeah, particularly related to the metaverse and Web3. I mean, I think Moonbeam at the end of the day and Moonriver as well. I mean, our focus is to kind of build, as I mentioned before, right? Kind of the best experience possible for developers, right? To build on Moonbeam and Moonriver. I think our approach is different maybe to other teams where many teams are kind of built or building to kind of end user facing solutions. So they themselves are building products that are oriented towards the end user. Whereas our use case is a bit different, right? Our job is to kind of build a platform that then attracts other teams to build their projects on. So for us, it's more of a focus on providing the best possible platform for high quality teams to build on Moonriver and Moonbeam. And I think that's what we've focused on quite a lot in the last year. And then in turn, kind of these projects attract end users and there's different communities that are formed. But I mean, as a team that's building a layer one on Polkadot and Kusama, of course, like we want projects to be building across different areas, right? So I think for now, the most traction that we've seen is within the DeFi, NFT, and gaming space. But a lot of these spaces are evolving rapidly, right? So we see like DeFi protocols, for example, you see this kind of movement of DeFi 2.0, where a lot of the protocols are adjusting and evolving based on like the feedback that users have had and the different problems users have had. Within the NFT space, I think things have been evolving rapidly as well, and NFTs are being incorporated into metaverse projects. So all of these things, I mean, we're kind of seeing them firsthand because these projects, we want them to be building on Moonbeam and Moonriver. So for us, we want to be attracting these like innovative projects and the ones that are pushing this evolution on Moonriver and Moonbeam. So yeah, for us it's important, and we're already seeing like a lot of NFT projects and metaverse projects that will be growing on Moonriver specifically, and we'll probably see different ones on Moonbeam. I think most projects are going to be deploying on both Moonriver and Moonbeam. But many of them, or some of them at least, are focusing on just one of the two, right? So then this will create like two separate communities, two separate sets of projects that are building on both. But for sure, I mean, we want to form part of this evolution of the metaverse and of Web3 as well. I think it's kind of fundamental for our project. And at the end of the day, I think there's a popular narrative around like competition and competitiveness between like different layer one protocols and things like this. But I think at the end of the day, this type of competition is beneficial for the development of Web3 in general. And yeah, I think it's a good thing, right? That people are kind of asking these types of questions, and overall, this type of competitiveness, I think, is healthy for Web3, and it'll kind of accelerate its development, both in terms of adoption and also in user experience, which I think is something that I'm looking forward to the development in the years to come. So yeah, I'm not gonna. I'll leave it there because I know the translation is not so simple when I speak a lot.
Yeah, that's that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, thanks a lot, Francis. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. Actually,刚刚Francis 这边的话有提到，就是关于这个话题啊，就是关于 Moonbeam 如何参与到其中。其实他还是在强调一个 Moonbeam 的话，这边还是做一个这样的一个平台，对吧？这样一个平台让大家为大家提供，包括开发者也好，包括用户这边提供一个极佳这种体验，让更多人可以参与到其中来。对，然后的话呢，其实在本身 Moonbeam 平台上面的话，已经有相关的 NFT 或者是游戏空间类似这样的一些应用已经在做了，并且他们也在那个刚刚的那个类似 Q2 啊，或者包括 Q1 这样一个 roadmap 里面也有提到关于 NFT 还有DeFi 啊，包括可能游戏啊这一块的一个扮演的重要角色。对，那 Moonbeam 这块的话，继续会做好自己这边的这样一个包括依托波卡生态的这样一个可操作性，对吧？跨链性能，对吧？这些部分是其他平台上所没有办法去比拟的这样一个优势点，对吧？他们会继续把这块做好，然后提供极佳的这种开发者和用户的这种参与体验，对，然后把这块做好，然后呢，另外一方面去不断的去吸引一些关于 NFT 也好，或者是元宇宙相关的一些应用，可以围绕Moonbeam 去做这些东西，对，这块可以更大的发挥 Moonbeam 这样做一个平台这样一个优势一个空间，对，那他们也在打造围绕整个的波卡的话 ，Moonbeam 也在继续提升自己的这样一个本身的专业性能，对吧？包括他们的这个安全性和可操作性这一块是一直在提到的，对，另外的话就是围绕开发者和用户的这样一个体验的提升，对，我想这是 Francisco 刚刚在这边一直在强调的这一块，对，要创建一个非常友好的这样一个环境，然后让大家更好的去开发相关的在关于 Web3 也好，关于元宇宙也好一些非常好玩的这些应用，对，那 Moonbeam 这块的话会继续扮演好自己的相关这些角色 ，OK， yeah, thank you so much, Francisco. Yeah, that's really awesome about the ideas like to improve the user experience or developers experience with Moonbeam to attract so many like NFT or metaverse based apps to build on Moonbeam. Yeah, we will see a lot of like this kind of the apps will be emerging on the Moonbeam ecosystem. Yeah, wish you guys all the best. Okay, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was an honor and a pleasure to be part of this event, and thanks a lot for translating as well. And yeah,
that's okay. You. That's all right. Yeah, hope we can have more events later on, yeah, like here in China, maybe online or offline. Yeah, like to promote the Moonbeam projects and try to let people like here in China a lot of maybe like ambassadors to join the Moonbeam ecosystem. Yeah, we will try to tell people about the updates of Moonbeam too. Yeah, thank you so much for today.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks a lot. And thank you to the community too. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, great. Okay, bye. See you, Francisco.
Right,
see you.
Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
Okay, great. Yeah. 非常感谢Francisco 这边给我们带来这样一个精彩的分享，以及刚刚围绕的在 Moonbeam 这边的两个重要的话题，对吧？希望大家通过这样一个活动呢，能够感受到 Moonbeam 近期在做的事情，对吧？它可能不只是说把以太坊能够搬到这样一个波卡生态当中去，他们还会围绕波卡生态的本身的这种性能，比如说安全性啊，以及可操作性这一块跨链的性能，来打造更好的、更便捷的这种用户体验，然后让大家去创建下一代互联网所需要的一些应用。对啊，这一块我觉得我们是可以去不断去期待的一个部分。然后另外，像刚刚他在讲述当中有提到一些非常好的一些数字，对吧？包括我们可以看到Moonbeam近期的这样一个生态进展也是发展的非常快的，也希望在线的一些开发者朋友，包括可能社区的一些朋友们，也可以参与到里面去了解一下Moonbeam，你也可以去参加他们相关的活动或者是成为他们的大使计划，对不对？或者是帮他们发现 bug， 然后提交 bug， 你也可以去获得一些技术层面的一些资金的一些分享，对不对？我觉得这一块大家都可以去参与这一块。OK， 那今天我们活动的话，可能就先到这里，然后希望大家继续关注我们的这样一个Web3先行者活动，然后这个活动的话，我们肯定会一直持续下去的，一直可能最起码会到今年年尾。对，是希望大家可以 更多的了解一下整个Web3 生态的一些发展情况，以及不同的公链或者是项目，他们在围绕 Web3 在做哪些事情，对吧？可能 Web3 这个概念的话，目前还不是非常非常明朗，但是随着大家的这样一个深入了解和探索，我觉得这个概念的话，会接下来非常非常明朗。OK， 那希望大家继续关注园林区的这样一个我们的平台，对吧？也可以加入我们的Discord， 还有Telegram 平台，以及我们的 Twitter， 还有我们的公众号，可以继续关注我们为大家接下来的一些分享。OK， thank you guys so much to be here, and we will continue to sharing so much updates about Web3 related projects, like all public chains or some kind of ecological projects built with those kind of chains. So just stay tuned. Okay, stay tuned, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to each of you. And we will try our best to bring you guys about the next generation of the internet, the apps or applications. So later that we can work together to understand more or learn more about Web3, about the next generation of internet. Okay, thank you guys for today. OK， 谢谢大家，谢谢大家。我们今天这个活动的话就先到这里了。OK， 希望我们下期再见，好吗？拜拜。